good evening and welcome. Tonight we're going to be continuing our world tour. Why was that so hard to say? Our world tour in this book, and we're going to be exploring Europe. Now, when I think of Europe, one of the first things that comes to mind is France, since I've been there. And one of the most amazing things about France is their incredible perfumes, right? But they are very fancy and very expensive, and I definitely have not been able to afford some of my favorite scents. But thanks to Dossier perfumes, I've got two scents that I've always wanted to buy. So Dossier is a perfume company that emulates a lot of very popular scents. This one here I'm obsessed with right now, the Fruity Jasmine. I've got the card here about it. It's inspired by J'adore by Dior and smells fantastic. The other one that I picked out is inspired by Coco Mademoiselle by Chanel, which I'm obsessed with. And I'm so glad that I got these because this one is very sweet and floral, and jasmine's one of my favorite smells. And this one is very musky, so it's perfect daytime and nighttime. And it's two scents inspired by two fantastic Parisian colognes that I love and I'm obsessed. And they're much, much more affordable than the real thing. So if you were looking for a great gift this holiday season, you can't go wrong with just beautiful, beautiful scents. They've got all kinds on their website. And right now they're having a sale where you can get up to 30% off of already very affordable, beautiful perfumes. So check out my link down in the description so that you can enjoy these magnificent scents as well. So without further ado, why don't we just dive right in and learn more about Europe. I'm going to start on this page, and I remembered my pencil this time. Europe. Europe may be the second smallest continent, but around 1/4 of the world's people live here. Its land stretches from Scandinavia in the north to warmer Mediterranean countries farther south. Moscow in Russia is the continent's largest city, and the Vatican City in Italy is its smallest country. Let's check it out. Oh, there we go. Europe. Europe shares the same landmass as Asia, stretching from the cold Arctic north to the warm Mediterranean Sea in the south. There are over 40 countries in Europe, and most of them have a mild, temperate climate with warm summers and cool winters. Take a tour of London's most famous attractions on board an iconic red bus, or watch the world go by from an elegant Parisian cafe. Strap into skis and race down the slopes of the Swiss Alps, or travel south to dive with dolphins in the warm waters of the Algarve. On Europe's eastern edge, go ice skating in Moscow's Grand Red Square, or visit the city's ancient fortress, the Kremlin. So first, we are going to, if I can turn this page, Norway, to visit the coastal fjords. Norway is a Scandinavian country in northern Europe, bordered by the North Atlantic Ocean. Visitors come from far and wide to see Norway's majestic fjords, where deep channels of blue seawater cut into the rugged landscape. This striking scenery was formed by giant glaciers during Earth's ice ages millions of years ago. Let's see what we've got. 127 miles, the length of the longest fjord, which is also the deepest, descending down to 4,291 feet deep. Creatures of the north. Reindeer, seals, and soaring birds of prey make their homes here in the cool northern climate. Porpoises. Seen in shallow fjords, harbor porpoises are the smallest members of the whale family. They can dive up to 660 feet deep and come up for air every 25 seconds. Saltwater channels. A fjord is a deep, narrow extension of the sea that cuts into the land. Steep, rocky banks line the water's edge. 300. The number of Norwegian mountains that are taller than 6,600 feet, some of which are so steep that no one has ever tried to climb them. White-tailed eagles. With a wingspan of 9 feet, white-tailed eagles are among the largest birds in the world. They can be seen gliding above the water and swooping down to pluck out fish. Sami reindeer herders. The Sami people are indigenous to northern Norway and have lived here and in Sweden, Finland, and Russia for thousands of years. They are nomadic people who often migrate with large herds of reindeer. Reindeer are essential to the Sami way of life, providing food, clothing, and tools. 1,000. The number of fjords along the coastline of Norway. On the water. One of the best ways to explore the fjords is by boat. Visitors can travel on all kinds of watercrafts, from little motorboats that venture through narrow waterways to large cruise ships that explore the coastline. Next, we are going to the United Kingdom to visit London. At the bustling heart of London, the UK's biggest city, is Buckingham Palace, home to the British royal family. The palace is surrounded by parkland and looks out onto the Mall, a historic road that runs between the palace and Trafalgar Square. During the summer, visitors can get a glimpse of the palace's lavish rooms on special tours. 1 million. The number of people that gathered in the mall outside Buckingham Palace to watch the Golden Jubilee in 2002, which celebrated the Queen's 50th anniversary on the throne. I'm sure many more gathered for the 60th anniversary, right? The Tower of London. This historic fortress has been used as a palace and a prison by past kings and queens. The crown jewels are kept here under armed guard, including the imperial state crown, which contains 2,868 diamonds. 300. The number of languages spoken in London, the highest number of any city in the world. Fit for a queen. Buckingham Palace has been the official London home for the British royal family since 1837, when Britain's then longest-reigning monarch, Queen Victoria, moved in. 775. The number of rooms inside Buckingham Palace, including 52 royal and guest bedrooms and 78 bathrooms. London Bus. London's iconic buses have been painted red since 1907. Today there are around 9,000 buses calling at 19,000 bus stops. Changing the guard. This daily ceremony sees the handover between guards and lasts 45 minutes. Party time. Every year, 8,000 people are invited to the Queen's summer garden party. Thankfully, she's got the space to fit them all in. The party takes place in the Palace Garden, the largest private garden in London. Next, we're going to France to see La Belle Paris, Paris. Paris is the capital city of France in Western Europe. The city is famous for its beautiful architecture, fascinating museums and galleries, and fashionable shops. Parisians are known for their love of coffee and fine food, so there are plenty of lively cafes and restaurants across the city to choose from. Around 10 billion baguettes are eaten in France every year. Patisseries, or French bakeries, are popular across Paris, selling baguettes, croissants, and elegant cakes. 6,000. The number of streets in Paris, with some only a few feet long. 10 million. the number of visitors to the Louvre in a year, making it the most visited museum in the world. 100 years, the amount of time that it took to build Paris's famous Notre Dame Cathedral. The Tour de France. Every year, the world's most famous cycling event takes place in France, involving cyclists from many different countries. It takes 23 days to complete, making the Tour de France one of the most challenging cycling races in the world. The race ends in Paris on the famous street called the Champs-Élysées. 20 years. The amount of time that the Eiffel Tower was supposed to stand, that was over 130 years ago. Symbol of the city. Built in 1889, the Eiffel Tower is 1,063 feet tall and has 1,700 steps, which are climbed by millions of visitors each year. Cafe culture. The tradition of gathering in cafes goes back hundreds of years, when the artists and writers of Paris would meet to share their work and ideas. The city's cafes remain popular places to sit and watch the world go by to this day. Next, we're going to Switzerland, to the Alps. Situated in the center of Europe, Switzerland is one of the most mountainous countries in the world. With ice-blue lakes sat between snow-capped mountains, Switzerland is a popular place for outdoor activities like hiking, climbing, and cycling. When winter arrives, visitors travel from around the world to ski and snowboard at famous resorts in the Swiss Alps. 60%, the amount of Switzerland that is covered by mountains. Famous foods. As one of the first countries to produce milk chocolate, Switzerland is now famous for making some of the most delicious chocolate in the world. Ski season. One of the world's best places for skiing is at Zermatt in the Swiss Alps. The resort has the highest ski runs in Europe at 12,500 feet. From here you can ski downhill for an exhilarating 13 miles on one of the world's longest ski runs. The Alp horn. Blowing into this giant wooden instrument makes a deep, round sound that was historically used to call cows at milking time. The Alp horn is now played as part of traditional Swiss folk music. Breaking records. The Charles Quonen Suspension Bridge is the world's longest pedestrian suspension bridge. It stretches nearly 1,600 feet and provides views of the Matterhorn and surrounding mountains. Mountain goat. The Matterhorn is it says mountain giant. It does not say mountain goat at all. It says mountain giant. The Matterhorn is one of the tallest mountains in Switzerland. It has a jagged pyramid-shaped peak that is 14,692 feet high. Mountain call. Yodeling was invented by shepherds as a way to communicate with each other across the mountains. This song-like call now forms an important part of Swiss folk music. Peak in the meadow. The name Matterhorn means peak in the meadow, as the mountain rises sharply above its surrounding grassy slopes. On top of the world. At 11,332 feet above sea level, the Jungfraujoch in the Swiss Alps is the highest railway station in Europe. Stopping here, travelers are greeted by snow underfoot, mountains all around, and views over a nearby glacier. Next, we will visit Monaco. To visit Monte Carlo. Situated on a sunny southeast coast of France, Monaco is a tiny country known for its lavish parties, designer shops, and wealthy residents. Monte Carlo is the central region of Monaco that stretches along the seafront, facing the Mediterranean Sea. This is where famous events like the Monaco Yacht Show and the Monaco Grand Prix take place every year, drawing thousands of spectators. 2.4 miles. The length of Monaco's Mediterranean coastline, with the whole country roughly the same size as Central Park in New York. Racing cars. First hosted in 1929, the Monaco Formula One Grand Prix is one of the most famous racing events in the world. The circuit is difficult and often dangerous, made up of tight corners and narrow roads. Supersized. The Monaco Yacht Show is the biggest super yacht event in Europe. Huge, lavish yachts arrive from around the world, some of which are over 300 feet long. 78. The number of laps drivers must complete in the Grand Prix for a total distance of 162 miles. The legendary casino at Monte Carlo is an ornate building covered in statues where people come to spend lots of money on gambling. Flash the cash. Monte Carlo's opulent shopping center is packed with designer and luxury stores catering to the rich and famous. Underwater world. At Monaco's famous Oceanographic Museum, visitors can marvel at 6,000 species of sea creature and explore vast ocean-related displays. The historic building sits on a sheer cliff overlooking the Mediterranean Sea. 12,000. The number of millionaires who live in Monaco, which is nearly a third of the country's population. Next, we will travel to Austria, to Vienna. Vienna is the capital and largest city in Austria, a landlocked country in Central Europe. It is known for its historic old town, impressive museums, and busy music scene. Famous concert venues such as the Vienna State Opera House stage spectacular and sometimes unusual performances all year round. Vienna's Vegetable Orchestra plays concerts around the world, using a range of fresh vegetables as instruments. The audience are then offered vegetable soup at the end of the show. Unfamiliar sounds. Carrots, leeks, and pumpkins make good instruments. Playing to the crowds. The Vienna State Opera House can seat over 1,700 people in its grand auditorium. More than 60 different opera and ballet performances play here each year. Giant Ferris wheel. Vienna's famous Ferris wheel has been standing for over 100 years. It is 213 feet tall, giving passengers a bird's-eye view of the city and the Danube River flowing below. Individual cabins can be booked for special occasions with an incredible view. Music and dancing. Hundreds of magnificent balls are held in Vienna every year. Step in time. The Viennese waltz is a traditional style of ballroom dancing where couples move in time with the music. Music in the garden. Each year, around 100,000 people watch the Summer Night Concert, where some of the best musicians in Austria perform in a beautiful outdoor setting. Next, we will travel to Italy, to gorgeous Venice. Built in a lagoon containing around 120 small islands, Venice is known as the floating city. Here, networks of canals act as roads and people use boats to get around. The biggest canal is the Grand Canal, which runs through the heart of the city. In February, the city erupts into celebration during the famous Venice Carnival. The Grand Canal. Venice's busiest waterway snakes through the city. It is lined with grand palaces that are hundreds of years old. Gondolas. These traditional flat-bottomed boats have been used to ferry people along Venice's canals since the 16th century. There are around 400 still operating today. Party time. Since 1162, the Venice Carnival has brought the city to life with loud and colorful celebrations. People dress up in extravagant costumes and wear traditional Venetian masks. The Rialto Bridge was the first bridge to be built over the Grand Canal, and still the most famous. The bridge has been standing for over 500 years. Let's see it here. 0.04 to 0.08 inches, or 1 to 2 millimeters. The amount that Venice is sinking each year, with the eastern side of the city sinking faster than the western side. Over 400. The number of bridges that cross Venice's many waterways. Underwater. Venice is prone to flooding, particularly in winter when the water level is at its highest. In 1966, flood water reached a record-breaking 76 inches deep. Next, we will visit Portugal at the Algarve. The Algarve is a region in southern Portugal that is known for its striking golden cliffs, sandy beaches, and almost year-round sunshine. The coastline is lapped by the Atlantic Ocean and is home to fascinating wildlife such as dolphins, whales, and flocks of seabirds that soar above the waves. Coastal birds. Many types of seabird, such as shearwaters, petrels, and skuas, live around the coast and feed on fish, squid, and other marine creatures, which they pluck out of the water. Sunshine and sand. Portugal's sprawling southern coastline stretches for 96 miles and is dotted with golden sandy beaches. Hidden caves. Coves? Caves. It does say caves. There are limestone caves and grottos to explore along the coastline, but many can only be reached by boat. Feeding ground. The water around the Algarve coastline is very nutritious and full of plankton, which dolphins, squid, and other sea creatures love to eat. 100. The number of beaches in the Algarve. 26. The number of cetacean aquatic mammal species, such as dolphins, porpoises, and whales that live here. It's really hard to see this black text on the dark blue water. Acrobats. Dolphins are playful creatures that enjoy leaping out of the water or breaching and displaying aerial acrobatics. Snorkeling. Take a dip beneath the crystal clear water of the Atlantic to see all sorts of incredible creatures such as cuttlefish, colorful corals, and some of the strangest creatures of all, sea slugs. 200. The number of dolphins that may swim in a group called a pod. Bubble blowing. Dolphins are very intelligent and have worked out how to herd their prey by blowing bubbles at them. They also swallow fish head first so that they don't get spiked by their fins. And next, and last, we'll visit Russia, to the capital city of Moscow. The capital of Russia and the largest city in Europe, Moscow is known for its colorful architecture. Its famous open space, Red Square, is home to many historic attractions. Domes and spires. St. Basil's Cathedral is an eye-catching church on Red Square. The building was finished in 1561 and is known for its decorative onion-shaped domes. Russian dolls. A matryoshka, or little matron doll, is a traditional painted wooden doll that twists open to reveal a smaller doll inside. Large dolls may have as many as 25 dolls hidden inside. Negative 44.5 degrees Fahrenheit, the coldest measured temperature in Moscow, recorded during the winter in 1940. Red Square. Visitors flock to Moscow's best-known square to see its iconic sights. The most famous is probably the Kremlin, which is the center of Russian government, as well as the official residence of the Russian president. The Bolshoi Grand Ballet. Built in 1766, the Bolshoi Theater in Moscow is home to the oldest and one of the most famous ballet schools in the world. Giant Fortress. Built in the 15th century, the Kremlin was originally a giant fortress. Today it is Moscow's most visited attraction, welcoming around 20 million visitors a year. Russian Beauty. In Old Russian, Red Square translates to beautiful square. In winter, ice rinks pop up all over the city, and the parks are transformed into ski and sled runs. Even Red Square has its own ice skating rink where people can go skating and play hockey, apparently. And that is it for tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you found this video relaxing and educational. Thank you again to Dossier. These magnificent fragrances. They're so nice, I can't stress it enough. And I hope that you have a very good night. Good night.